It is indeed a pleasure to be with you this morning at the launch of what will no doubt be a game-changing and groundbreaking intervention in the Eastern and Southern Caribbean. At the USAID, we have been working with the governments and partners for so long that this feels like a very important day for us and for the country. Today, my goal is to present an overview of the program called the Youth Empowerment Services Project. Allow me to introduce the intervention. So it goes without saying that the situation of youth violence around the world is unacceptable. And we in the Caribbean have not escaped it. So our goal really is to reduce youth involvement and crime and violence in the communities in Eastern and Southern Caribbean. Why is this important? Because 16, 22, 29, 20, these are the ages of the last 4 victims of serious offenses in St. Kitts and Nevis. At the same time, good things are happening here. I noticed also that you would have awarded 25 young people the most remarkable teens in St. Kitts. And so this program is intended to complement those kinds of efforts, and together we work to reduce youth involvement in violence. But it's important to understand that USAID's approach is grounded theoretically in the public health model, which emphasizes preventing disease or injury from occurring rather than treating the consequences. In Trinidad, where I'm from, we say prevention better than cure. The key steps here are to define the problem very clearly, identify the root causes or risk factors and protective factors, formulate and test the strategy, and ensure widespread adoption by disseminating the results and working with others to ensure understanding. But for such a model to work, there must be solid data. And this brings me to our theory of change. This diagram explains how we expect the desired change to come about. There will be the availability of standardized, disaggregated crime data. Not only that, there will be reliance on this data to drive decision-making. In this sense, reports will not be shelved, they will be used, they will be discussed in the corridors of Parliament, they will be discussed in homes, they will be understood and applied to the development of evidence-based approaches to citizen security policies and programs. Ultimately, this is expected to result in a reduction in youth crime and violence and risk. Now, although we will provide support in different ways to all 10 countries in the Eastern and Southern Caribbean, the priority countries will be Guyana, St. Lucia, and St. Kitts and Nevis. A detailed review and assessment several years ago revealed that there were emerging and existing issues in all 3 countries, which built a compelling case and underscored the need for a comprehensive intervention. Allow me to explain the intervention now. So the overall cost of this five-year project is $64 million. There are 3 components which will work simultaneously and in a complementary way to bring about the desired change, which I discussed in the theory of change. The first component, strengthening evidence-based decision-making, also known as Carry Secure, is being implemented by our partner UNDP and has an estimated budget of $14 million. The second component, the Community, Family, and Youth Resilience Project, is being implemented by Creative Associates and has an estimated budget of $38 million. The third component, the Juvenile Justice Reform Project, continues the work which was done by the OECS Commission from 2011 to 2016 and has an estimated budget of $6.4 million. Let's talk briefly about Component 1, Carry Secure. The goal is to improve youth crime and violence policy making and programming. It is expected that by 2020, the 10 target countries will be using standardized data sources, using the evidence-based decision-making to develop and approve youth violence prevention policies. What does this mean in a practical sense? In a practical sense, we expect to see annual budgetary allocations. We expect to see strategy papers. We expect to see a strong research agenda and even legislative change. The cross-national comparability of the data will allow for greater information sharing across the region and wider adaptation of evidence-based citizen security practices. As we look at Component 2, the Community, Family, Youth Resilience Project, this is the cornerstone of our intervention and initiative, which we expect to tackle head-on the risk factors associated with youth criminality and risk. The project will target 15 communities in the 3 priority countries. In St. Kitts, for example, we expect that there will be 3 to 5 communities selected, and these will be selected based on pre-identified criteria, such as the crime trends, data about young people, unemployment, the statistics related to youth involvement with the law, and so on. This process is underway at the moment, but the proposed approach, which is important to understand, has 3 levels. The first level, the primary level, targets all young people ages 10 to 29 who, by virtue of living in the selected community, is at risk for crime involvement. A menu of social programs will be offered to divert young people from risk and criminal activity, such as youth leadership training, life and social skills training, community engagement, as well as other social programs. Secondary prevention services will be provided to young people with 4 to 6 risk factors. The Youth Service Eligibility Tool, a proven tool being used right now in different parts of Latin America and to address gang violence in the US, is being used to determine these risks. In this category, young people will benefit from very specific risk reduction activities such as life planning, mentoring, and family counseling. Tertiary interventions will target the highest risk group of young people who demonstrate 7 to 9 risk factors. These young people may already be gang involved or may have already had contact with the law. They will benefit from more specialized services such as cognitive behavioral therapy and so on. But ultimately, the community will be the glue that holds this together. The community will be expected to work effectively together, not only with the implementing partner, but with each other to lead and guide the citizen security processes and to support these young people as they continue their path to productive lives and citizenship. NGOs, community-based organizations, faith-based organizations will also be engaged, will be brought together, will have access to training and grants. In summary, this particular component will provide, as I said, family counseling, psychosocial services and mentoring, will help young people to develop new skills and become employable, will match young people with interventions based on level of risk, and will connect young people to other services. And now to component 3. The goal of component 3 is to promote the rehabilitation and reintegration of youth. We all know that young people are different from adults in a number of fundamental ways, not restricted to age. If we think, for those of us who are maybe aware of brain development, we know that the frontal lobe is the part of the brain that develops last. And this is the part of the brain that talks about judgment, impulse control, emotions, and so on. And this develops around 24. So we can consider that, the period of adolescence is very tumultuous. It's a period of great risk-taking. And so indeed, in this context, we are well aware of our great responsibility to ensure that our treatment of juveniles in detention promotes not only healthy moral development, but also legal socialization. It doesn't lend itself to further antisocial behavior or criminality. This component, therefore, promotes and supports alternatives to custodial sentences, ensures that detention centers and the programs and policies therein foster rehabilitation, facilitates the reintegration of youth back into their families and communities. And I just want to make a point here that, our expectation is that these families and communities would be healthy, productive environments for these young people. So the other stakeholders involved in the process are critical. And finally, to document and share successful models for wider sharing throughout the region. As I close, I want to thank you for your attention, as well as leave you with this quote from Superman Christopher Reeves. So today we are dreaming about a safe and productive Caribbean. He says, so many of our dreams at first seem impossible. Then they seem improbable. And when we summon the will, they soon become inevitable. In this room, I know we have the collective will to make St. Kitts and Nevis even greater than it is today, and even better for its young people tomorrow. I want to emphasize that we are eagerly looking forward to working with you through our partners and look forward to the positive results. Further information is readily available at USAID. Thank you. Have a great day.